The Detroit Lions are standing at one of the most fascinating crossroads of the Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell era. For the past several seasons, Detroit has built its identity around a powerful offensive line, a relentless defensive front, and a culture rooted in toughness. But now, as the franchise pushes deeper into championship contention, a series of roster questions are beginning to surface all at once. And none may be bigger than the looming departure of longtime left tackle Taylor Decker. For nearly a decade, Decker has been the anchor on the blind side in Detroit. Drafted in the first round back in 2016, he became one of the foundational pieces of the Lions' offensive rebuild. Through coaching changes, roster overhauls, and the franchise's eventual rise under Dan Campbell, Decker remained a steady presence protecting the quarterback and setting the tone in the run game. But now, after the Lions reportedly asked the veteran to take a pay cut, Decker has requested a release in hopes of a clean and amicable split. That request signals something that many inside the league had already begun to suspect. Detroit is preparing for life after Taylor Decker. And when a team that prides itself on offensive line dominance loses a cornerstone at left tackle, the ripple effects reach every part of the roster. The Lions understand that reality better than anyone. During the NFL Combine, head coach Dan Campbell openly acknowledged that the organization had already been studying options at tackle regardless of Decker's decision. His message was clear. The Lions knew this moment was coming, and they have been preparing accordingly. Campbell explained that the team needs someone capable of stepping into that role, either as immediate depth or potentially as the future starter. And when you examine how Detroit builds its roster, it becomes obvious that the draft is likely the primary solution. Free agency can provide stopgap players. It can provide competition. But true franchise tackles are rarely available on the open market. They are drafted, developed, and extended. That is the path Detroit followed with Penei Sewell, and it may be the same path they follow again in the 2026 NFL Draft. What makes this situation particularly interesting is that the Lions have flexibility. Penei Sewell is already one of the best right tackles in football, but he originally played left tackle in college. If Detroit drafts a right tackle prospect, Sewell could shift back to the left side. If they draft a natural left tackle, Sewell could remain where he is and continue dominating on the right. That flexibility allows Brad Holmes to follow one guiding principle that has defined his tenure: take the best player available. One name that has quickly climbed into the conversation is Georgia offensive tackle Amon-Ra Freeling. At the NFL Combine, Freeling turned heads not only with his size and length, but with elite athletic testing numbers that immediately caught the attention of scouts across the league. Freeling's physical profile fits perfectly with what modern NFL teams want at the position: long arms, explosive movement skills, and the ability to mirror pass rushers in space. When he stepped onto the field for testing, he backed up the buzz that had been building throughout the college season. However, there is one element that could complicate his draft projection: experience. Freeling only started 16 games at the college level. That limited sample size could make some teams hesitate if they are picking in the top 10. But for a team like Detroit selecting in the middle of the first round, that upside might be exactly what they are looking for. The Lions have shown repeatedly that they are comfortable drafting players with elite traits and trusting their coaching staff to develop them. Just look at what offensive line coach Hank Fraley has accomplished over the past few years. Detroit's offensive line has consistently ranked among the most physical and technically sound units in the league. Freeling entering that system could be a fascinating developmental story. His raw ability combined with Detroit's coaching infrastructure could accelerate his transition into an NFL starter. But even beyond the draft, the Lions have multiple roster questions unfolding at the same time. One of the biggest areas of concern is the edge rusher position opposite Aiden Hutchinson. In 2025, the Lions rotated several players into that role, including Marcus Davenport and Al-Quadin Muhammad. Both players are now potential free agents, leaving Detroit with a significant vacancy along the defensive front. And when you consider how crucial pass rush is in today's NFL, it becomes clear that this position cannot remain unresolved for long. Aiden Hutchinson has already proven he can be a game-changing defensive force. But elite pass rushers are often most dangerous when they have help on the opposite side. When offenses cannot slide protection in one direction, when quarterbacks cannot escape pressure lanes, that is when defensive fronts become truly dominant. Detroit knows that if they want to compete with the league's elite offenses in the postseason, they must build a deeper and more versatile defensive line. This brings us to one of the most intriguing strategic possibilities of the Lions' offseason, adding a veteran edge rusher through free agency. Several well-known names could potentially fit Detroit's defensive identity. Veterans like Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Jadeveon Clowney, and Cameron Jordan all bring experience, physicality, and leadership. While none of them may play every down at this stage of their careers, they could provide valuable rotational production while mentoring younger players. Imagine a rookie edge rusher entering the Lions' locker room and learning from someone like Khalil Mack or Cameron Jordan. That kind of mentorship could accelerate development while also adding immediate pass rush production. Detroit could also explore slightly younger options such as Charles Omenihu, a powerful 6'5" defender who has flashed strong run defense and pass rush potential in recent seasons. But regardless of which direction they go, the Lions appear committed to strengthening their defensive front this offseason. Now here is where the bigger picture starts to come into focus. The Lions are no longer a rebuilding team. They are not chasing talent simply to become competitive. They are now building a roster designed to sustain championship contention. That means the strategy is evolving. Instead of massive splash signings, Detroit is increasingly focused on finding undervalued contributors who outperform their contracts. This approach helped them uncover players like Roy Lopez, Avonte Maddox, and Rock Ya-Sin last offseason. And this year, they could be searching for similar value additions across multiple positions. Running back is one example. After trading David Montgomery to allow him to pursue a larger role elsewhere, the Lions now need a complementary back behind Jahmyr Gibbs. Gibbs is one of the most explosive players in football, capable of turning any play into a highlight. But even elite backs benefit from having a physical partner who can handle short yardage situations and keep the offense balanced. Players like J.K. Dobbins, Emmanuel Wilson, or Sean Tucker could potentially fill that role at a relatively low cost. Each brings a unique skill set, but they all share traits that Detroit values: toughness, ball security, and the ability to generate yards after contact. The Lions may also explore depth additions at wide receiver and tight end. With Sam Laporta recovering from a back injury and Brock Wright dealing with his own health concerns, Detroit could look for tight ends capable of contributing both as blockers and receivers. One particularly intriguing option is Charlie Kolar from the Baltimore Ravens. Kolar has quietly developed into a reliable player behind Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, showing strong blocking ability and impressive efficiency as a receiver. His skill set would fit perfectly into Detroit's physical offensive philosophy. Meanwhile, the Lions may continue building offensive line depth through affordable free agent signings. Interior linemen like Luke Fortner, Sean Ryan, or Tevin Jenkins could provide competition and insurance across multiple positions. All of these potential moves reflect the same philosophy: build depth, create competition, and allow the best players to emerge. But when you step back and look at the entire picture, everything circles back to one central question: who replaces Taylor Decker? Because that decision will shape the Lions' offensive identity for the next decade. If the Lions find the right tackle in the draft, they preserve the strength of their offensive line. They protect their quarterback. They keep their run game dominant. And they maintain the physical brand of football that Dan Campbell has built. But if they miss on that selection, the ripple effects could impact the entire offense. This is why the upcoming draft feels so important for Detroit. And if you're enjoying this deep dive into the Lions roster strategy, now is the perfect time to subscribe to the channel and join the conversation. We break down every major move, every draft prospect, and every roster battle shaping Detroit's future. Hit that subscribe button and make sure you're here for the entire offseason journey. Because what the Lions do over the next few months could determine whether this team becomes a long-term contender or merely a brief playoff window. Brad Holmes has earned enormous credibility with his drafting ability. From Aiden Hutchinson to Penei Sewell to Sam Laporta, the Lions front office has consistently identified talent that fits their culture. Now they must do it again. The 2026 NFL Draft may ultimately deliver the next cornerstone of Detroit's offensive line. Whether it's Monroe Freeling or another rising tackle prospect, the Lions will be searching for a player capable of protecting the blind side for years to come. And if they get it right, this roster could remain one of the most balanced and dangerous teams in the entire NFL. Because championship teams are not built by accident. They are built through calculated decisions, patient roster construction, and a relentless commitment to development. That is the blueprint Detroit has followed over the past several seasons. Now the next chapter begins. The search for Taylor Decker's successor is underway. The pass rush opposite Aiden Hutchinson must be reinforced, and the Lions are once again preparing to prove that smart roster building can sustain success in the modern NFL. The offseason may only be beginning, but the decisions made right now could shape Detroit football for the next decade. And if you want full coverage of the Lions' draft targets, free agency moves, and roster battles as they happen, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. This offseason is going to define the future of Detroit football, and you won't want to miss a single update.